I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Watkins.
Here.
Councilmember Earl.
Here.
Mayor Reinhardt.
Here.
Councilmember, Vice Mayor Johannes.
Here.
Councilmember McConnell.
Present. Okay, public comments. Any public comments? Okay, presentation, annual audit presentation.
Hi everybody, my name's Ian. I believe you've all seen me once or twice before. I'm the manager on the audit, so it was, Tricia worked for part of it, and she left in the middle of December, and then we finished with Karen and Brandon. So anyway, the audit went well. So I'll just go over the opinion on the audit and then some of the financial highlights and answer any questions. So if you open up to page number 1, you're reading page 10. But if you look at the first 2 paragraphs here on the opinion section, this is the wording or the verbiage for an unmodified or clean opinion. It's the best opinion the city could receive. So in essence, you pass the audit. There's nothing you could have done better to receive a better opinion. So that's what you want from the audit. That's the main point. To get on a few more pages to page number 5, this is the start of the management discussion and analysis, and it shows, we'll go over the financial highlights there. It shows where the city stood at a very high level in the aggregate from all of your funds. So if you look at the first bullet point, your assets exceeded your liabilities by about 10.3 million at the end of the fiscal year. About 3.5 or 3.6 million of that is considered unrestricted, meaning it can be used for anything. The difference between your total net position of 10.3 and the 3.5 is built up of your capital assets or restricted funds, in the sense that you can't spend a building or spend a sewer system, so it's not considered unrestricted. So about a third of your equity is unrestricted. You had about 3.7 in revenues and about 2.8 in expenses million. So you increased your net position by about 875,000 for the fiscal year. So you added to your equity. Your governmental funds specifically, which are all of your funds, mostly except your water and sewer fund. You had fund balances of about 3.2 million. It was an increase. You had excess revenues over expenses, about 364K over the previous year. Your unassigned, which is very similar to unrestricted net position, your unassigned fund balance was about 1.3 million, which equates to about 42% of your annual expenditures if you took that as a ratio. So that's a liquidity ratio. It says how long you would survive after the end of the year. After the end of the year, if you receive no income, you'd survive approximately 42%. Of the year, assuming similar expenditures. Unassigned fund balance. Oh, sorry. So if your fund balance is 42% of your total fund balance, you have 84% unassigned fund balance to general fund expenditures. So you're about double what I initially said. Page 8. This is your statement of that position. Shows your assets, your liabilities, and your equity, and it breaks everything down by your governmental activities, which would be your general fund, major local streets fund, those type of funds, and then your business type, which would be water and sewer. So you can see all of your cash, liabilities, accounts payable, long-term debt, pension liability. Everything was relatively similar except for your cash. It decreased about $1 million. But your capital assets increased about $1 million, so accordingly your cash decreased, but your capital assets increased because you spent money on that. So that's the main reason for those changes. You paid off you had some balloon payment debt that came due last year that is now paid off. So your current portion of long-term debt decreased from 1.3 million to 112K. Your debt pension liability went down a little bit. You can look at the back end of the report, I believe it's page 51. You don't have to turn right now, but page 50 and 51 shows your pension. You can see the last 10 years of your activity in your pension and how everything went. 10 years ago, you're about 55% funded. Now you're about 78% funded. So you've increased pretty substantially. And you can look at the bottom to see of your balance sheet, all of what's invested in capital assets, what's restricted and what's unrestricted. Okay, next page, page 9. This is your income statement, shows your revenues and your expenses. Overall, very similar year. Your charges for services increased a little bit due to your water and sewer increasing a tiny bit. Property taxes was a significant source of income, as well as your unrestricted state revenue sharing. And then all of your expenses at the bottom, you can see the breakdown between your general government, public safety, which would be police, public works, road work, things of that nature, recreation and culture, parks, and similar things like that. And you can see all the comparison to the previous and current year. But relatively it was the same. And then you can see at the bottom your change in that position. So you had excess revenues over expenses for last year and this year. So both years you increased your net position. A few more pages down. These are the basic financial statements. I won't spend a whole lot of time on this. I'll just point them out to you. 13 and 14 is what we just went over, but it only shows the 25 fiscal year. Page 15 and 17 is your governmental balance sheet and governmental fund balance sheet and income statement. So your two major funds, your general fund and your major streets fund, are shown specifically on page 15. You can see their fund balances at the bottom. And then all of your non-major governmental funds, which would be the local streets and a few others, get lumped together. And you can see the fund balances at the bottom of page 15. Page 17 is your income statement for the same. Should be fairly similar year over year. General fund is property taxes and state revenue sharing, and your local streets have Act 51 funding, things of that nature, and all the expenses that went out of each. Page 19 and 20 are the income statement and the balance sheet and income statement for your wastewater and water fund. Very similar to what we just went over, but it specifically shows those funds, if you wanted to see that. And yeah, that's pretty much it for your basic financial statements. There's another statement for your fiduciary fund, but it's fairly small, and it's your tax fund. So that's just the in and outs of the taxes to the city as well as other entities that you collect for. The rest of the report is just more information on the financial statements. If you wanted more information on your pension, long-term debt, capital assets, you could look into there. The only last thing I would point out is page 50. This is your pensions. So if you wanted to see how you looked over the last 10 years, go to page 50 and look at the bottom where it says net pension liability. And on the left side, you can see how much you owe on your pension theoretically in the future, and how much, the next line below it is how much it's funded. The state usually wants you to be, I believe the number is 60%. You're well over that. So whenever we file a report for you to the state that says how well your pension is funded, and if it's not funded enough, the state will send you a letter that says adding more to it. But as long as you pay in accordance with what MERS tells you to, you'll be fine. Any questions on the report at all?
No, good job. Like everything was flowing properly.
Yep, it was very similar to previous years, so nothing odd or weird to note.
Okay, thank you.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you. Got a motion for the consent agenda. motion to consent agenda.
Okay. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, new business, adopt an updated fee schedule resolution 26-5-10, Brandon.
Thank you, Mayor Reinhardt. Staff reviewed the current fee schedule and recommend updates related to the site condominium development applications. The proposed changes would increase the site condominium development review fee from $600 to $1,000 to more accurately reflect the time and costs associated with processing and administering these applications. In addition, a $2,000 review escrow is proposed to help cover engineering, planning, legal, and other professional review costs associated with site condominium applications. Any questions on the review fees?
Any questions? So motion?
We'll make a motion, we adopt 26-5-10.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Bill?
Yeah.
Or Tony, Mr. King.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay. Adoption of resolution 26-5-11, TWSRF project plan, Brandon.
Thank you, Mayor Reinhardt. Mike Schwartz from Pride and Newhoff is here to provide an overview of the proposed 2027 drinking water state revolving loan fund project plan for lead service line replacements throughout the city. Turn it over to Mike, and he has a brief PowerPoint for you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to keep this meeting as brief as possible so you can get out here in 15 minutes. So, as part of the DWSRF, there needs to be a little resolution and presentation provided to the council. So that's tonight's meeting. So the project plan, which is your application, has been on the city's website for the minimum over 10 days, which is required. Brandon, do you have any written comments?
Yep.
Which is comment, but we have to ask if there's any public comments on that. So today, what we're going to talk about in about 9 slides is there's a sign-in sheet in the front corner. Eagle asks that everybody in attendance please sign that, including commission members. Sign that, so before you all leave, that gets put into one of the appendices, just so they can see how many people attended. We'll talk quickly about existing system needs, overview of the program, overburden, which some people used to call disadvantaged communities back in the day, the recommended projects, cost, and kind of how this affects the environment and the next steps associated with this. So, over the past many years, the city has had a couple grants to identify where lead services are. When we say lead services, it generally is galvanized services. The old pipes are rigid, services are rigid. They use what's called a lead whip, generally an 18-inch piece of lead to connect the two surfaces. That's generally what they consider a lead services. So we're talking about generally galvanized, previously connected to these lead whips that need to be replaced in this. And that's what this whole project plan is. It's there was 2 types of applications being submitted this year. One was for like all sorts of water type projects, and then they had a special classification just for lead services. So this project planning document is purely for lead services and no other projects. So there's about just under 600 services that were identified that to be galvanized, potentially connected to lead on your system. So like I mentioned, the water main, we talked about water service is from basically the main that's generally along the sidewalk or generally maybe underneath the curb line. And it goes into the house to the water meter, which is generally about 18 inches inside the house. So that's generally the area we're looking at having that service replaced. Quick overview, it is a loan program. It is a competitive loan program. So once this project plan is submitted, it gets scored, and they wait to see how everybody else in the state submits these and how they get scored, and then gets ranked by your score. And then they compare the funding and say they have X number of funds, and they see how far down that list they can get. So it is a low interest loan. We don't actually know the interest rate at this point. It comes out, in about 5 months, 6 months from now, of what that actually is. So they tell you what to assume. So they tell us to assume a 20-year loan at 3% for our projections to this thing. And then we prepared this project planning document, which is actually your application for the DWSRF program. The public meeting, it is, just needs to be a public meeting, it's not actually needs to be a public hearing, but how you want to handle that is fine tonight. And that the document needed to be available for review on your website for 10 days, and any discussion will be summarized and incorporated into the final project plan, which is due June 1st as part of this program. Overburdened communities, this City of Bronson, we did do the scoring for that, and you guys did land in the significant overburden category, which is fantastic because that is like the vast majority of the points on this entire program. So a significant overburden gets 25 points versus an overburden gets 20, and if you don't meet either of those, you get 0. So qualifying for one of those two categories is a huge advantage over most anybody because 25 points is a lot in this program, especially for lead services. So what that does is it definitely increases your chance of getting funded, but it will also increase your chances for principal forgiveness on the program. So what we had proposed with the city staff was to replace about a third of the system. It's estimated about $2.5 million. And so according to Patrick, there is about 1,000 customers on there. And to make a loan payment of $2.5 million with no principal forgiveness for 20 years, it's about $14 a person per month for what that actually calculates out on the system. Environmental impacts and mitigation. These are pretty much standard on any type of construction project. That it is a competitive project, so if you do get awarded, it does have to go solicited publicly for bids and a public process. It will bring you into compliance with the Eagles Lead and Copper rule that all your services have to be replaced by 2041 to bring you back into that area. Better water quality, at least for that individual homeowner. But obviously there's some temporary impacts which are pretty common. You'd have a little bit of construction noise, some traffic disruption where they're digging up at the water main in front of the house, and then obviously water service disruption while they're replacing the water service at the house. But overall impacts were not expected to affect air quality, scenic rivers, wetlands, floodplains. It seems like an odd list of things, but because it's federal funding, you have to clear all the various agencies. And then for general mitigation, contractor will comply with local traffic, limited work hours, typically 7 to 7, Mondays through Fridays, unless otherwise, and any permits would be obtained with the project. So bringing us to the last steps is just a reminder to sign the sign-in sheet, which I see is circulating right now, so that is fantastic. Public comments ended actually earlier at 5 o'clock officially. The document will address anything, and then we'll submit this by June 1st. So we'll include the minutes from tonight, the sign-in sheet, the resolution, et cetera, so the back end of the appendices all get filled in tonight with that document. So trying to keep this meeting still under that 15-minute window, so I guess at this point I'll open it up any questions for the council.
So, we this is a public. What am I missing?
So they have been working on these for the last several years, but they're doing 6 to 8 a year. So they're not generating a lot of these. So you still have about, when I looked at the GIS system just this last month, there was 595 still to go. Okay, so this is for replacing 200. Okay, so take about a third of the out of the system at this point.
This is for 20 years, and then we still got.
You'll still have another 400 give or take to get.
15 plus years, right?
Yeah. And then years keeps changing. I've heard it, depends on who's in office at the governor, or you have the presidential, whether they try to reduce it, increase it, get rid of that date. But right now, EPA says 2040.
Yep, last year we did more like 11, isn't it, Jerry?
Yeah.
But we've done how many so far, like 15 this year?
No, we've completed 10 so far this year. Year to date, getting it done pretty early. So we're gonna have a bigger number this year.
But it still takes, you just have a large number to get rid of. So it's gonna take time.
I mean, thinking of the financial aspect of this, I mean, the $14 that up there, you're gonna have to do this 1.5 times essentially, if you're really only 2 times, it makes no sense on.
It's very interesting. But we're hoping that there'll be a lot of principal forgiveness offered.
That's, well, we can cross our fingers, but
We have to go after whatever grant dollars we can.
Oh, yeah.
It's gonna take grant dollars to do.
It is. And there's points for that trying to get to some of the smaller communities this year with some of the scoring systems. So if you haven't had a DWS, you got points for that. They were trying to, in number of percentages of units removed, versus just a number, where the large cities like Kalamazoo, Valley Creek can just, hey, we're gonna do 1,000, even though that might only be a small percentage. So they've changed some of the rulings this year on the scoring to, I think, help some of the smaller communities to, hopefully make it on the list versus being on page 6 of 8 numbers in the remote scoring areas. So
And how often do these programs come up?
it's every year.
Every year.
Yeah. Although each year is completely different, can be on scoring or who even spins. So what happens on this one is actually it'll be on file for 5 years. So each year we can resubmit this with only changing, we wouldn't actually have to even go back to the public to have a meeting, we would just have to update the cost. And say, for next year, if we wanted to do a 28, we'd update the significant overburden sheet again, this point scoring matrix again, and then any cost or any changes and say we want this for 2028. So even if you didn't get funded this year, we wouldn't go back through this whole process, we'd just start, at the tail end of just a few little documents to update. So there were numerous communities that are doing that right now, that we're doing a carryover, it's called.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
Now we need to go into public hearing, right?
Sounds like it's not required, but
It's just a public meeting, but you can have a hearing, just,
for the minutes, it would be good.
yeah.
So just do, so a motion.
I make the motion, we move to the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, we're now in public hearing. You want to say? Okay,
I make the motion to go back into normal session.
I'll second
all those in favor?
it. Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, adopt resolution 26-5-11. Or we need to read that.
Thank you, Mayor Reinhardt. The Eagle Nexus Grant is a funding opportunity provided by Eagle to support water or wastewater projects that improve energy efficiency, enhance system reliability. We have to pass that resolution. Sorry, I thought you were reading C, so
No, sorry.
we have to pass that resolution from B. Or the
Okay, so
DWSR.
26-5-11, right?
Just gotta pass it.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay,
I make a resolution to pass 26-5-11.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, resolution 26-5-12, Brandon.
Thank you, Mayor Reinhardt. As I mentioned, it's a grant to improve efficiency, enhance reliability, and reduce operating costs. In 2025, the city was awarded roughly $47,000 towards this, from this program for the installation of variable frequency drives at both of the well houses. We intend to apply again this year for funding to replace 3 effluent pumps and associated valves at the wastewater treatment plant. Kennedy Industries has provided a preliminary equipment estimate of $145,000 for the 3 pumps, associated valves, and variable frequency drives. This preliminary estimate does not include installation, additional piping, site work, bypass pumping, or contingency costs, which staff estimates could be approximately $100,000 of the project. Based on current planning level estimates, the total estimated project cost is about $245,000 with the grant request of $90,000 through the Eagle Nexus program. The city's anticipated share is currently estimated at $155,000. However, staff will continue to refine the project scope and cost estimates while pursuing additional funding opportunities to help offset project costs and reduce impact on local ratepayers. We have submitted for funding through Senator Lindsay's office for a number of different projects at the Headworks. This would be one of them, and we could use that money to make up for the cost share of this.
That is $155 in the budget, the estimated budget that you.
It'll be in the capital improvement budget, which you'll see in the budget presentation at the next meeting, and capital improvement portion.
Now, if we don't do this, are we still moving forward with this? Is that something that has to be done? Or it's a lot that we're trying to take care of because of the funding that's available?
It's definitely a need. Not something we have to do right away, but we really need to replace those pumps and work on the headworks at the plant, getting the grid system installed. So this will help cover some of the cost of getting the influent pumps replaced. And like I said, we're searching out other funds for this to cover the match, as well as other the grit removal and type stuff at the headworks. This will reduce energy costs with variable frequency drives, so the pumps aren't running 100%. They can run 30% to keep the flow going. So we'll help improve energy efficiency, and this grant will help cover, hopefully, some of that project costs because it will increase energy efficiency.
Those consumers have still want their energy program, where there's potential rebates from consumers.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any wastewater.
There are some.
Yeah.
Going on. Because a lot of times consumers will do your frequency drive because of the energy savings. Pumps are pumps, so it's not, I don't think it's specific to wastewater or to well water. I think it's just the frequency drives themselves.
Definitely something we can look at.
I would call consumers to see, because a lot of times they do have those energy rebates that come to them.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they're generous this week.
Any more questions or comments? Or motion?
Make a motion to pass resolution 26-5-12 Eagle Nexus grant.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, resolution 26-5-13 Community Energy Management Grant. Brandon?
Thank you, Mayor Reinhardt. The Community Energy Management Grant is another funding opportunity provided by Eagle for water and wastewater projects to improve energy efficiency. The city intends to apply for the installation of furnaces, doors, and installation at each of the well houses. The installation of these improvements will reduce energy costs and improve overall reliability of the system. Project's estimated at just under $19,000 and includes an in-kind match from the city of approximately $1,000. That would help. City staff would do the installation or whatever we could do. That would be our match. So the resolution in your packet demonstrates the city's commitment to this project and improving energy efficiency.
And I would just say on this one, Michigan Gas, I know contacts me every year about projects we do with energy savings that they have a refund and rebate dollars. So I would reach out to them as well. If you're doing furnaces, that would fall right there. And typically, you might talk to them because if you do tune-ups and a lot of things like that, they actually pay every year for like tuning up the furnaces, boilers, those types of things.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Motion?
Motion to pass resolution 26-513, community energy management grant.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, approved notice of award Fountain Street project, Brandon.
Thank you, Mayor Reinhardt. In April, bids were open for the Compton Street resurfacing project. You'll recall the city was awarded a grant of up to $199,000 through MDOT Category B program to resurface Compton between South Ruggles and South Madison Streets. Excel Paving Plus of Coldwater was the lowest bidder at just over $280,000, which is $34,000 less than the engineer's estimate. The firm has successfully completed several solar projects in the city of Coldwater and comes with strong references. In addition to the base bid, the city requested alternate bids for sidewalk extension on Roosevelt Street of approximately 850 feet of new sidewalk. This would connect existing sidewalk that ends at 192 East Roosevelt Street to the network of sidewalk at South Madison Street, linking Greenwell Park to the city sidewalk system on that end of the park. Excel Paving Plus also submitted the low bid for this alternate work in the amount of $78,977. If approved, this portion of the project will be funded entirely through city funds and is not eligible for reimbursement through the MDOT grant. Staff's recommending we do the additional sidewalk as well as approval of the notice of award to Excel Paving Plus and to authorize the city manager to execute the contract for both the base bid, as I mentioned, and the sidewalk, for a total amount of $359,731.40. MDOT will reimburse $338,577 of eligible project costs, leaving a city share of just over $221,000. While the city's share is just shy of $22,000 above the original resurfacing estimate, that increase includes the addition of the Roosevelt Street sidewalk, which was not part of the original engineer's estimate. Additionally, the sidewalk extension includes 20% contingency, which is rather high, $13,700. We don't think we're gonna need all that. And there's some drive approaches that are called for that may not be necessary. So that cost could be quite a bit less than that. So excluding the contingency, the overall project would be only $8,300 above the original project estimate, while still incorporating the additional sidewalk improvements.
There's no sidewalk on the south side of Greenwell.
So like the south side road.
South is,
Yeah, neither.
Neither
Right,
side.
but this is on the north side, but this is gonna take care of that, that's on the Roosevelt side of it.
Yep.
On the Grant Street, there's nothing there. Is there any talk of, I mean,
There's sidewalk on the south side of the road, but not the north side of Grant Street. But there's nothing on Roosevelt on either side.
correct? Yeah. I mean, you have the backyard right there, I didn't know if it was worthwhile to think about something.
Sidewalk connecting the rest of the, Madison Street to the Greenwell Park and the Bronson backyard, I think would be beneficial.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
yeah, and you can look at what the cost for the other portion would be. And bring that back later. Yeah.
Any other question or comments?
No.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion with Excel paving for the same amount of money for the project.
Hold on, so do you need to add in that you have the,
Yeah, allow the city manager to execute the agreement.
I just added that in.
I support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, appoint clerk treasurer. Brandon?
Thank you, Mayor Reinhardt. Staff interviewed several candidates for the clerk treasurer position and selected Jacob Gauthier for the role. So we'd like to introduce him tonight. He reports to the city manager, but is also serving at the pleasure of the city council, so we need to have him appointed by city council as well. He's planning to begin on May 19th. If you want to introduce yourself or say anything.
Yeah, I appreciate the warm welcome from everyone. I'm excited to be joining such a great community, and I'm excited to get started next week.
Now tell us how to.
Yeah.
I make a motion to appoint Jacob Pathard for the role.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, welcome, Jacob.
Welcome board. Bill, you're doing good. This is not right.
Fiscal year 26-27 budget discussion.
Thank you, Mayor Reinhardt. As required by city charter, I'm presenting a draft of the 26-27 fiscal year budget for your review. The budget projects just over $1.7 million in general fund expenditures and a projected deficit of $198,000. I'll hit on some of the key highlights. General fund has $75,000 for buildings. $4,000 would have to be transferred to the cemetery to cover operational costs. $22,000 to repair the salt barn at the DPW barn. $25,000 for park improvements. Major and local streets, obviously the MDOT category B that we just discussed is in there. Both major and local have $150,000 for street maintenance. So your chip and seals, HMA paver patching, we might do this summer. So we have $300,000 in there. Water capital improvement fund, continuing to budget $85,000 a year for lead service line replacement to be done by our staff. Capital budget includes Compton Street, as I mentioned, as well as those service lines on Compton Street that'll be done. Should be done before the start of the project begins. The motor pool capital improvement fund will have $55,000 for replacement of the DPW Tahoe in order to get them a pickup truck that will better meet their needs. That's a carryover from the 26 budget, as well as replacement of the 2020 police Ford Explorer, which is starting to have a number of issues. So the cemetery, I had mentioned, $4,000 will have to come from the cemetery fund. The cemetery redevelopment fund or your perpetual care fund will transfer just under $7,200 into the cemetery fund to cover cemetery maintenance. That about covers it. If anybody has any questions on anything specific?
Just a quick, this year's budget versus roughly where you think we're gonna end up?
Done a projected budget yet. Right now, I think we're sitting at over 100,000 under budget. But we have a lot of revenues that haven't come in yet and expenditures for the next 2 months, so. I think we'll hopefully end up under budget.
Good.
Things continue.
I mean, this is, hey, we've come into this meeting before, it's been quite large. So, to have it, a couple $100,000 is,
Yeah.
you know, and then just hearing what you're giving us right there, it's, you know, and I know you guys always do a great job with that, but it's nice to have those numbers at least out, so.
Yeah, staff always does an excellent job of trying to save money. If it's something we can do ourselves, we do it.
Yep.
Always finding ways to save money.
Any more discussion? No. city staff, oh wait, let's let, Rick speak if you would like to.
Sure, just real quick. I would just draw your attention and look for the update. Our county code red system it has been hit and miss. We've had 2 tornadoes in the county in the last 7 or 8 weeks, and notifications have been spotty. So we are set tomorrow to go to scrap code red and go to a new system. I'm sorry, my iPad died. I can't give the new name, but watch for updates. We think that if you have signed up for Code Red, you know what Code Red is, right? It's alert system. If you've signed up for Code Red in the past, the information is supposed to flow to the new company. They're all private companies that do that service. It's supposed to flow over, but you should double check when you can get online and double check it and make sure that you are signed up, your phone number's correct, and double check all your information where you're located, especially where you're located. So the new system will have a couple of better features, I think, than Code Red, and it's looks like it's half the cost of what Code Red was. So Code Red had a software meltdown, and they just never could really get recovered from it. So we're going to make that switch. We are moving forward with bids to build the evidence building out behind the jail. That's moving forward. We did decide to lower the millage rate, in case you didn't catch that, for the original jail millage that was in 2018, 19. And we reduced it from 1.23 mils down to 0.78, I believe, in that neighborhood. So pretty good reduction. And we still think we'll be ahead of the game, even building the evidence building out of the funds that we're ahead on today. We still think we'll be ahead of the game to be paid off by 2038, 39 is a projected payoff date. Can't pay anything off before 2030. And we're facing potential penalties if we continue to accumulate the pace we're on. We could have been in an arbitrage penalty phase where we would have had to pay part of it back out to the state because we were making more on our investments than we're paying for the bonds. So we're trying to keep under that threshold. My favor was to try and pay it off early and have it over with and stop the millage, but with not being able to do it till 2030 and with the penalty potential, made more sense, seems to just roll the millage back. Though in Bronson School District, we won't notice a big change, but it will absorb quite a bit of the mills for schools. So property taxes should be fairly equal without seeing much of an increase. So let's see. Other than that, we did get our first quarter financial results. The new projection is our general fund will have about a $320,000 deficit at the end of the year of 26. We were projecting a $300,000 gain, but spending the money out for the evidence building has kind of swung that the other way. We're still in great shape. We're fully funded on all of our MERS stuff, 100% across the board. We did that last year to catch everything up. So budget-wise, finance-wise, the county's in really, really good shape. Lastly, we continue to talk to Michigan State and try and get a lease signed for the 160 acres that the county owns on Bader Road, or that we all own on Bader Road, for a forestry department project out there, and working with Batavia Township, and we're going to their planning meeting for a special use permit, I believe, on June 9th. So that's the update, unless you have any questions.
Thank you.
You can always keep me to the end too, Bill, if you want. Just don't make me on old business, huh? Everybody knows I'm getting old.
Appreciate you very much. Appreciate your information.
Yeah.
City staff accountant Steve.
School's getting out here in a few weeks. Kids are gonna be running the streets all hours of the day. Keep an eye on that. Parks are starting to look good. The bathrooms are open. got the one candidate we have in the academy is set to graduate in about 3 weeks. So we'll start field training as soon as he's done with that. We're still trying to choose the 2 for the summer academy. That's been kind of a trying process, but struggling along, but we're getting there. But we're hoping to have 2 in the academy for the summer, which will graduate in December. So we're hoping by the end of the year we can be in a lot better position than we are right now. But right now things are going okay. We're managing, so just looking forward to finally getting some staff. It's been hard.
As the weather's starting to turn, golf carts, ATVs, anything,
Been seeing a lot of golf carts.
everything good, bad?
Thus far, everything's been okay. We haven't had any issues with the golf carts yet, but just within the last couple of weeks, I really started to see where the weather's finally warm enough. So, yeah, thus far, everything's good. That's all I have.
Thank you. Jerry?
The flows were up at the treatment plant for April, pushing 500,000. I suspect that they probably have been much higher without the work we had done, probably 2 to 3 times. So it's been nice not having so much extra water. There's obviously still some getting in, but nothing like it was. We actually, today, we're back down below 400,000 again, so it's coming back down now. So that's good.
Thank you. Here, let's do the city manager comments.
Thank you, Mayor Reinhardt. Bronson Rail Trail Plan, just mentioned that City of Bronson was selected by MSU to participate in the Spring 26 Trail Project and Walk Course as a community partner to assist in the development of a conceptual master plan for the Bronson Rail Trail. Throughout the semester, city staff and community partners worked closely with the students and faculty, and came up with recommendations for trail event development, and looked at economic impact, fundraising opportunities, and community partnerships, trail amenities, branding, long-term implementation strategies. So they presented that to us April 28th, and they did a great job. Thank them. Annual downtown spring cleanup was held with Girls on the Run at Ryan Elementary on April 26th. Had a total of 16 volunteers that helped pick up trash, pull weeds, and wash storefronts downtown. So big thank you to them. We have our citywide garage sales kicking off this weekend. And we'll make everybody aware of the food truck rally happening Friday night from 5 to 7 at the Farmers Market. And yeah, like Jerry had mentioned, I provided a graph showing you the recent flow from April. So we were higher at 11 million gallons, but in April past, we've seen it at almost 40 million gallons. So positive information. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. Council comments, Matt?
No, just great job on the annual audit. Again, it's always nice to get that nice feedback from everything that the staff does. So thank you for everybody that puts work into that. Brandon, we come to a lot of these meetings and there's grant, which is fantastic. I'm not saying that there's not a negative thing about that. What would be nice, I know you did this a year or so ago, but is there something that we can publish out there for the community to see is, we've done X amount of improvements that cost this. We had grant forgiveness that give us this, and then the city outlay for this. I think having that information available to the community to see would be very beneficial, because again, we're seeing a lot of this where the city's got a match, and you see a couple $100,000, that seems like a big number, but in the grand scheme of things, it's very, very minor compared to what we've been able to do for very little money that we put into it. So seeing that would be something for the community to see. I would like to see it a little bit more too.
Yeah,
But
that's definitely something I can give you an updated one.
I mean, that's great. I mean, you guys do a fantastic job with that, just let the city for the community to see that would be a very beneficial. Other than that, please keep it up. Again, be safe with the kids getting out of school here in a few weeks. Okay.
I just want to thank everybody for their hard work and dedication to everything we do. We've got a great team, you guys work all together. So kudos to all of you, and Brandon and I agree with Matt, if we publish that, you guys need to be in the limelight, showing what you're doing here. You know, people complain about how much money the city spends on these projects and the cost factors. You know, showing them what you earn in grant dollars and how much it truly saves them on the water and sewer and utility bills. It's huge.
Having Patrick has been fun.
So that's one way to show that it was a great thing to bring Patrick on board because he's up there fighting every day for this. So. Thanks a lot.
Larry?
Well, the audit, you couldn't ask for better. That is fantastic. I can remember when it wasn't like that years and years ago. So kudos to Brandon, the whole staff, because so many times we hear, okay, there's a one deficit in the budget, and it's a large number. And yet, at the end of the budget, it's very, very, well, have you ever had one that you lost a little bit of money?
This past fiscal year, but since then, there's been things we found that it's basically a wash, maybe a little bit to the good.
And that's my point, is we've added to the fund balances as we saw tonight. And yet, we started out with a pretty big deficit. And that just shows how hard our people are working to make sure that citizens get the best bang for the buck. So kudos to all of you, because it's not just Brandon, it's right down to the last word that helps. So kudos to all of them. Of course, school's gonna be out. Watch for the kids. Watch for people daydreaming in the summer. Don't run over any of them. So that's all I have.
Yeah, hey Jerry, I bet you'd be glad to get some heat in there next winter. We can improve that over there.
The wetlands.
Well, it's, yeah. I think to say Linnell's working real hard on the historical building. She's putting a lot together over there. There's gonna be a big garage sale. She's got a lot of stuff there this coming weekend. I'd like to compliment the Girl Scouts too. They've been doing a lot of can collecting there on North Rose and Soul and what. What's her name over there? Who's that? Sherry, she said that they've collected about $5,000 in cans. Great, and the money's gonna go to the Girl Scouts, and they're gonna be able to go on a little camp. So, that's what's that, like $50,000, or 50,000 cans in 2 years. So they've collected well, and anybody does anything to add to that, that's a big project that she's working on. And Steve, I know how hard it is. If anything continue I can help you with, please let me know, you and Frank. Definitely would get more involved if I can. I'll talk to you. You guys through some more stuff. And I guess everybody else, thanks for all you do.
Yeah, I think the only thing I could add is I want to thank all the council members, because we really do work really good together. We don't always agree on everything, 100%, but we always get the job done, and that's what's important. Exactly. So I just want to give you guys all a pat on the back for that, and then the city staff, of course, we do have a phenomenal team, so you have to give yourself a pat on the back. Not that's right. Anyhow, so yeah, and then I want to congratulate the class of 2026 at the high school for a job well done. So,
Nothing else. Welcome aboard again.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?